In the previous book, Alex mentioned what had happened between him and his ex-wife as an object lesson on owning your mistakes, even if it's the mistake of being what you are. But with her on his mind again and thinking about her the entire way back to Tycho from Illis, he's found himself having dreams of living his life with her again, to the point that he wants to go back and talk with her once they've put into port. And yet, despite this, the fact that he wants to go back, when he arrives on Mars and is asked if it's business or pleasure, he jokes that it's neither because he's seeing his ex-wife, and realizes he's made a crack that the woman he's had on his mind is some kind of a shrew. When he finds her, it isn't a fairy tale ending to say the least. She's convinced that he's here for something, and makes clear that she is not interested in comforting the man who walked out on her just because he's having a midlife crisis. She's not interested in recalling what happened or of talking about the past. In short, she is adamant on not wanting Alex in her life in any way at all. And in a moment of honesty, he admits to himself that her anger was understandable, that he deliberately dropped in unannounced because it meant that she couldn't tell him not to bother coming, and that put the burden on her when he just showed up. He heads off to a bar in celebration of the fact that he is, in his own words, an asshole. During the time on Mars, Alex observes some of the Martian recruits doing the kinds of things that he did when he was still a recruit. And the thought going through his mind that, well, so many older people have is, how is it I could have ever been a kid like that? It's in looking at their youthful faces and behavior that Alex gains a new perspective on himself. The remembrance that when he was their age, he used to make a lot of really stupid decisions that would land him in hot water. It's in light of that it occurs to him this was the same age that he chose to get married. One more stupid decision of youth. Not because she was the wrong choice, but because he was the wrong kind of man, and didn't know himself well enough yet. Didn't understand that he wasn't the kind of man to ever settle down on Mars. By crawling in his head, we gain a new perspective on the man. Alex is always seemingly the most laid back, the kind that can just get along with people. Yet we learn that he's been carrying a kind of baseline anxiety ever since the Canterbury blew up. Even after all the chasing related to that conspiracy was over, he didn't stop feeling worried. Alex may just have been doing his best to get along to ensure everybody got along, lest their little group fall apart. But while he's not an automaton flying the ship, cracking wise and sharing his movies with others, he's the member of the crew that leaves the least impression on the others. Amos, as discussed, has a Holden in his mind that keeps him on the straight and narrow as best as it can. Holden, it seems, has a Naomi that reminds him to be polite rather than short-tempered or nosy. And Naomi, strangely enough, has an Amos, a voice that looks out for danger and the subtle power cues of those around her. But Alex is just the man himself, their friend, shipmate, and pilot. And yet Alex realizes that he has a real sense of homesickness, and that's for his ship and the people there. During the series, the only other Martian viewpoint character we've had has been Bobby, and while on Mars, Alex decides to see if she wants to meet up and talk. Like Amos, with personal business done, Alex has no intention of ever returning to this place again, so he wants to see how she's doing. When they do, Bobby mentions that she has a hobby for Avasarala, looking into some of the events that seem to be a consequence of the rings. One new market no one seems to have thought about was the selling of on the black market in Martian weapons and ships, and she's been digging into that. She mentions an attack on the Callisto shipyards and notes that it seems to be a low priority to verify that nothing went missing. Some of the records are spotty, like a ship that would be listed as having been lost or decommissioned, but then there would be a record of it doing some mundane task later on, suggesting the losses were faked and the records imperfectly scrubbed. So she's hoping that Alex can help her, seeing as how he's ex-Navy and she's just a ground pounder. He might have better luck asking them about missing ships. Before he can even make up his mind on it, though, he visits Bobby at her place, only to find her tied up and being interrogated. During the confusion, the invaders are killed, but Bobby and Alex wind up in the hospital. It seems that this wasn't about Bobby's investigation at all, though, but about Alex, which doesn't make any sense. He's just a pilot who made the mistake of trying to hook up with his ex again. What makes this even weirder is that Holden leaves a message for Alex about missing ships and asks, if he's not doing anything, if he might check out a place called the Hungaria Cluster. Alex does hook up with an old friend who's still in the Navy, who gets him into an office with Commander Duarte, who serves as an aide to Admiral Long. The mention of missing ships triggers a tell in the man, and finally Duarte admits that he's had some concerns of his own. He offers Alex the name of someone who might be able to help, but they find the man has just recently committed suicide. With an obvious conspiracy in place, but all the clues leading to dead ends, Alex and Bobby decide to follow Holden's lead, using the Razorback, a gift to Bobby from Avasarala. Only the trip doesn't go well. There's a fleet hiding there, at least one being a Martian corvette because it's painting them with a targeting laser. Soon they realize that the other ships are likewise Martian corvettes, and they attempt to destroy the Razorback. The ship survives only by burning so hard towards the convoy that's delivering the Prime Minister from Mars to Luna in order to meet up with Avasarala, that the convoy is able to collect the ship despite them blacking out from the effort. Upon coming to, they learn of the asteroid attack on Earth. There's already 250 million people dead, including the Secretary General. And such chaos is going on that in the infirmary, Alex and Bobby get a personal visit from the Martian Prime Minister, concerned about messages from Avasarala about making damn sure that the PM keeps Bobby safe. The presence of the fleet is obviously no coincidence. When the strike on Earth happened at the same time, it's clear that the stolen Martian ships in the Hungaria cluster were intent on ambushing the convoy and either capturing or killing the Prime Minister. And it doesn't end there. When support ships are supposed to be arriving, it's learned too late these ships are also not working for Mars, but expertly forged to fool them. This is not some simple piracy job. They learn soon that it's OPA when, eventually, they board and Belters are there, who spot Alex and call him a friend of Knuckles. This, Alex wonders, might be related to a strange message that they picked up, of Naomi warning that Holden needs to replace the software on the Rocinante immediately. But while the message is sent along, the Martians have their own problems at the moment. They won't be able to resist this force. So Alex and Bobby get the job of escorting the PM away in the Razorback. But while they haven't given up, the pursuers decide now is the time to declare victory. A man calling himself Marco Inaros of the Free Navy, clearly radical OPA, takes credit for what's happened and makes the following declaration. First, that all of space belongs to the Belters. Once you leave atmosphere, you are now in their territory. Also, Earth and Mars are going to have to make restitution. All Belter facilities now belong to the Belt regardless of who claims to own or control it. And as of now, the ring is closed. Any colony ships are going to be seized and have their supplies given over to Belters. Marco repeatedly talks about humanity and the Belt and makes clear that they are one and the same. That's not to say that he is saying that the Belt is part of humanity, because obviously it is. What he is saying is that the Belt is the true representation of humanity, that anything that benefits the Belt is a victory for the human race itself, and by implication, the loss of any life on Earth is of no consequence to humanity's future. Before departing with the PM and the Razorback, though, a moment came when Bobby couldn't fit inside and said that there was no choice in what they had to do. Alex was horrified that she meant staying behind. What she was actually saying was that she was going to have to tear out some furniture and brace herself with her power armor. But later she makes clear how much it does mean to her that he refused to allow her to stay behind, even if it was just a misunderstanding of her intention. It makes clear just how important to someone who has struggled with survivor's guilt to know that there are still people out there who consider her part of their tribe. The funny thing was that Alex had been thinking about how she might not fit in with the other four, with their shared history, that she might be left out. but his instinctive reaction suggests otherwise. He may have come to Mars looking for a wife, but he left the planet with a shipmate. And for the Rocinante crew, shipmate and family are one and the same.